Left off page 104, 105. 105 we're at. Holding Lamed Ches. No, we have Ver Alocha. Right? No, we did the Ver Alocha. We did it. We're holding Lamed Ches. Page Lamed Ches, 105. Yasa Arbo Batim. Mi Or Echod, Ushel Rosh. I don't know if you get this. There's a newspaper, Modia. So they have a magazine. So in last week's magazine, it's called Inyan. There's a few-page article on a sofer from England. His name's Samson. He does his own batim. He does everything else. And over there, the pictures and all kinds of lengthy explanations of how the batim are made. You know, it's like one strip of leather, and they put it in like a form, which is 4 compartments, and how he does it. I'm just saying. So it has to be made me'or echod, from one piece of leather, l'shel rosh, u'bayis echad l'shel yad. And you have one bias, meaning there are no compartments in the shel yad, right? Because it's on one lengthy parchment. But the shel rosh, you have to have 4 compartments. But the 4 compartments, it's not you take 4 pieces of leather and you put them in the base. The base is called the titura, where it juts out. But rather, it's all made. Everything's made of one piece of leather. It's all one piece of leather. Because the way it's done, if you take a look, when they process it, the hide, after it's soaked, is very soft. It's almost like putty. It's very malleable, and they put it in a form and this, and they press it, and you're able to, with the shin, everything's very easy. I mean, you have to be an expert how to do it, because it has to be exactly square. If the tefillin is off, it's not valid. Halacha mishmashina it's called meruva. It has to be square. That's why tefillin, when you have soft tefillin, it's very easy for it to lose its squareness. And once it's off, it's possible.
The shin is made out of
the leather itself.
Yes, but it's made out of the box that is pressed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's in a mold.
They put it in a mold. Okay, let's see. Lamed Ches mi'or echod. Now, what about if you take different pieces of leather and you sew them together?
No good.
Wait. It's not simple. Or you glue them together. In the olden days, cheap tefillin, where it would say me'or echod. It would say on the outer box, on the cardboard box, it would say me'or echod. It's made of one skin. I mean, that's the halacha. So what it means that it wasn't, because there's what about if they're glued together? Take different pieces, you glue them together, they're sewn together. Is that called one or not? It's a question. So when it would say orechod means this is truly from one hide, that was a chumrah, that was a hidur. Because there are more linked opinions that if it's glued together or it's sewn, that's considered orechod. So it would write on the box, this is truly orechod. To indicate that it's not, they don't rely on those leniencies of sewing and pasting. Okay? This is what we speak about now. Morechod v'chatichos or tfurim yachad. Pieces of leather which are sewn together. V'tzar mogen avrom techashum korechod. The mogen avrom rules, that's called orechod. Even if it's sewn together. V'chein kosev tshuvas chasam sof or chaim simintei sheish lohokel b'tfuros. That if it's sewn, sewing is considered one, even though it's made of separate hides, separate pieces. V'mhoyu rak dvukos b'devek. What about they were only glued together? Okay, machbash, that is machbash. Sewing is better than gluing. The Chayyim writes that even if they're glued together with the glue, and his orzu was a rishon. He says it's the prevalent minhag in Poland. And that's why, as I said, that's why it says on the box. Today I don't know if it says any longer. It still says orechot, because they don't make those kind of tefillin any longer. Those are tefillin you would buy at Macy's, $5 a pair of tefillin. He said He says, Latchila Roy is appropriate and correct. He's like reiterating it. That it's something you definitely should not purchase as a first choice under any. It should be me or echad. Vayin b'chayodom l'alkopon tzichet shiu hadalvat prudos mzeh mizeh v'lo yu mudubokim. He says if it's more echad, it's very easy. You know, what about if the batim, you know, the way we have it, you should know they're not connected from the out. In between the spaces, except it's so pressed together, so tight, you don't see the space, but there are spaces. If you take a thin blade and you'd run it between the bottom, you'd see there's a space there. I mean, you would separate it. You may actually ruin the tefillin. You'd throw off the squareness, right? Because if you have space, it's not, you know, it's not as square as this because it's pressed together very tightly. But factually, there are spaces between every one of those compartments. And he says they should not be glued together. If you glue those bottoms together, it's quite la halacha whether it's valid. Because if you hold, like we said, glue is considered one. As if you take different pieces of leather, you glue them together, some hold that's orechot. So you put glue in between the bottom, that means the bottom are not separate. You see them as one. So if you say glue is nothing, so let it be glued. Glue is be separate. But if you're saying that glue is effective, that even if the separate piece of leather, it's considered one. So all the bottom are one. It's like one bias. That you can't have both ways, right? They were smart. You know, they wanted the tefillin to look good over an extended period of time. So what would they do? They would paste the bottom from the inside, put glue between, and there it would hold steadfast. It wouldn't. They glue, and they take their tool and they make like a cut, a ridge. So from the outside, it appears like they're four separate bottom, but actually they're glued together. If you go beyond that little indentation of the ridge, it's glued, and therefore it's a problem. The Monavshach, he says, if glue considers it one piece of leather, as we said, the Chayodom, it says glue is considered one. The apostle, on the outside it's one because it's one. Only inside it has four compartments. And you see there's four separate pieces of leather. So then the leather, it's made of different pieces, separate pieces of leather. It has to be made of one piece of leather. He says, but even those who use one, see, according to that, if you have one piece of leather, so that you should be able to to put glue in between, to hold it together, right? Because we're not relying on that, but factually there are others who hold that glue does make it one. The Shema Dibuk Chibur, V'chein Tefillin shall grow, how you prudos. You know, he saw the tefillin of the Vilna Gaon. He said the Vilna Gaon's tefillin were prudos, they were separate. They were separate. V'chein, no, which means, no, he's showing that the grow did not consider, was concerned that Devik, although he didn't rule Devik, makes it one, but he was concerned with those opinions that it does make it one. And if that would be the case, it's from the apostle, because they have to be spaced. The four compartments are from the outside have to be separate compartments.
So his tefillin was not glued or not sewn. It was made
one hide, and there was nothing between each of the compartments. And that's the way they make tefillin today.
Still not visualizing, what does it mean, nothing between the compartments?
If you take let's say, very, very thin blade, and you would run it between the bottom, between each compartment, there's a space there. It only looks as one because they're pressed together.
In other words, each compartment has walls.
That's understood. Even if you glue it, it has walls.
Not one wall between compartments.
Each compartment has its own wall.
Has its own wall.
Let's see, put glue in between.
Yes.
So the tefillin that we have today are probably more perfect than they've ever been.
Sure.
Like in the midbar, they didn't have all these instruments to measure perfect angles.
The way they did in the midbar, look, the Mishkan was pretty perfect,
And how is it put together?
right? They had if a person's a real artisan, something.
No, I'm talking about, I mean, you're talking about
This
thousands,
today,
hundreds of thousands of pairs of
does
thumb.
make a difference.
But
4 separations.
Yeah.
4 compartments. Okay, so they are separate.
They are separate, sure.
But they're pressed together.
I said they're compressed
Right, and they're held together.
because when
Just the pressure.
the pressure, because when it's done, when it's
Also, they
done,
harden.
no heat,
When
nothing,
they're
nothing.
done, they're made they're soft. And then
They're-
Because it's soft, and they harden in this mold.
Right. So just the solidity of it being very solid and.
Originally, when they first make it, afterwards they sand it down. It's very rough. It's like it's I told you, it's like almost like mush. The hide, when it's soaked, it's malleable, very malleable, and they form it in this form, and then afterwards they put it in a vise and they tighten it. Once it's then they sand it with a sander or with sandpaper. Today they use electric tools, and it's perfect afterwards.
So it's so tight, how do they get the functions in between?
No, from the inside. The inside, the compartments are separate compartments, and they insert each parchment into its own
So
compartment.
this hardening process is taking place while the parchments are inside?
No.
They get the parchments inside?
No, because there's a flap underneath. It's tefillin is sewn. Flap. There's a flap underneath.
Underneath, I see.
Right? You turn over your tefillin, you see there, it's sewn closed.
Ah, yes.
That's how they check the tefillin. They take out the git. It's gut. Right? It's not other type of material. I don't know. I never went on that tefillin tour with my son.
So it's just like the leather is sticking together itself.
Correct.
Are they allowed to put a stiffening agent
David.
to stiffen the...
Today they have bottom. They're called the bottom macher.
No, I'm serious.
The ones that make it.
It's for kids. I do
They're
it.
the professionalism. It's work of beauty the way they look. A pair of tefillin, just the bottom without the parshas, could cost you $1,500. Just the bottom. And if you have special parshas, a pair of tefillin costs you $3,000. And you look at it. There's a bottom mach today in there. So one of them, the name is Stark. The Stark bottom, and sometimes you have to wait. You can't. They're not because it takes a while. There's a waiting list for these bottom. But you look at it, it's literally gorgeous. I mean, the way it's a work of art. The exactness and the sharpness of everything, every detail.
But the bottom is not leather, it's glass.
No. It's leather. Of course, it's leather.
The strings.
It's sewn. It's sewn close with gut.
But the bottom is leather.
Of course, it's all leather.
And why isn't it black?
Because the lochem shishina is that part doesn't have to be blackened. If you blacken it, it doesn't invalidate it, but there's no reason to blacken it. Okay?
The black.
Here, I just want to go just a little further. Next halacha, lamites. Tefillin shel rosh shel yad halochem shemisinai shiyu meruvos betifron ubalachsonon. Here, they have to be square. Okay, betifron, when you sew them, ubalachsonon. The hainu shiyu meruvuon mechuvan orko v'rochbo, meaning the length and the width are identically the same length and width. So therefore we have the diagonals, they're identical. From whichever side you measure it, everything's identical. Every amo in the square on the diagonal, it's 2/5 more. Meaning the bottom also, it's not only the box on top has to be square, even the bottom, what they call the T2, what sticks out, the ridge on the bottom. Gamma batim. Like I said, years ago, many people, older, were very soft filling. First of all, we talk about gasos. There were gasos and dakos. Gasos was made with a thicker hide, or it was made with a thinner hide. It was made with a thick hide. Once it was pressed, it didn't lose its shape. If it's a softer hide, any little thing could throw it off. So over time, you always pull it down, whatever, eventually it lost its squareness. So sometimes they had to put it back in the vise, and they had to reshape it. But sometimes it was so off they couldn't, so then they have to put in Geniza, they put in Shemus. They can't fix it. Today, very rarely does a pair of tefillin lose its squareness, because today they don't even sell dakos any longer. Today, all tefillin is made with a thicker hide. It's much harder. And years ago, I remember a pair of tefillin, if you touch the side of the thing, it actually, you felt the wall. You could push it in and out, the wall of the tefillin. The shalrosh. That's because it was made from thin, very thin hide. The dakos.
Because the parshas are very long. They can't make dakos.